Hey guys. Well, you know, when you're on a sailboat, actually any boat I guess, varnish projects are always coming up. Well, in this video, it's kind of an overall of varnishing. I mean, we're not going to do any real varnishing today, but I want to talk about some of the concepts and some of the basics here. You know, you got to have a good foundation to start with. So prep is the key. Start off with a coarse sandpaper, go to something a little bit finer, and finally something nice and fine. I mean, you want this to be smooth. Clean the surface well before you start varnishing. Now, let's talk a little bit about brushes. Okay, this is not a good brush. This is for a water-based type of thing. It's not natural bristles. Same with this. What you want is a good China brush. Well, what does that mean, a China brush? Well, this is a natural hair. The China brush, comes from pigs in China. Now, we're not going to get into all the different regions that produce the different pigs, and you know, some of the hairs come from the throat area, some come from the loin, and you know, that's a little too technical. But you want a good natural brush. The problem with one of these nylon brushes is the oils and so forth, they're just going to get sucked up into this, and it's just going to gum it up. It's not going to make a nice clean surface. This is going to give you a good smooth flow. The other thing with varnish, you're not going to take it like a can of paint and start shaking the hell out of it, you know, because you're going to get bubbles in it. Now you do need to stir it a little bit. So you take the lid off, stir from the bottom up, nice and slow. Just get it mixed a little bit. You don't have to, again, you don't want bubbles in it. The next important thing is don't paint out of the can or varnish out of the can. Get a little container like this, put a little varnish in it, work. Now, you can just pour it. I'm terrible at pouring. So what I use, I got a lot of little stuff here. I went out and bought a special ladle. Get it? Red, this is all for varnish. I put my ladle in there, put a little varnish in here, dab that off, take a rag, wipe all the varnish out, take a little paint thinner, clean this up so there's no little debris stuff on it. You know, you don't want that in there. Now I'm ready to work, and I can dip in here, I can do my varnish work, and I'm not going to have issues with letting this, oh, that's the other thing. Put the cap back on this right away. Don't let this get dry. Now, if you're taking your time and you run into a little bit of difficulty and it's starting to get a little thick or something on you, or you get some particles in there, just get a good paint strainer, a varnish strainer. Get another container, put this in there, pour this in. Keep your varnish smooth and clear. And I never take whatever's left and put it back in here. That's why I like these containers, is because then I can seal them up nice and airtight. You know, I might get a little film on this if I have some varnish left. That's why you have these. You pour that in, nice and clean. Of course, you're going to need tape, you know, tape off your area. You might want some rubber gloves. Now let's talk about cleaning the brush. Well, I like to be as eco-friendly as I can with it. So you get another container, you put a little bit of paint thinner in it. You don't need a lot. Just put a little bit in, clean your brush like this. Now what do you do with this when it's left over? Well, I save a bottle like this, and I very carefully pour it back into this. I'll tell you why in a second. Then A little more paint thinner, cleaner in here. Now that's all you need. You've got all the varnish off of the brush now. Again, I pour this into the bottle. The idea being, now this has got a little bit of varnish in it, and it's a thinner. I can use this if I need to thin my varnish for any reason. I can use some of this. I can save this and thin it. The other thing is, how do you get the varnish off? You don't go around like this all over the place. You use a 5-gallon bucket. Shake it off in here. Let it run down. Get a paper towel. Wipe it out. Dispose of it properly. The same with this. Now you've got this empty. Put a little bit of soapy water in here. Nice and clean. Throw it. No, don't throw it overboard. Throw it in this bucket here. Help clean the sides. Wipe it all up. Now you've done things nice and easy. Now, I've been using a lot of different varnishes, and I'll show you. You look at what I did right over here. Now, I did that last year. I'm not going to say who I did it with. I put 3 coats on there, three coats on there, and it's a mess. So I went with my old standby buddies, Seahawk Paints, Nautical Coatings. I mean, these guys have never let me down on anything. I'm using their bottom paint. I use their epoxies. It works fantastic. This, the Captain Jack's varnish, I like it. I've used it a little bit already. It's got a nice smooth flow. It's got that traditional amber color to it, nice bright. It's UV protection enhanced. And you know, as far as I'm concerned, it's got Seahawk on it. It's going to turn out good. We're probably going to have to wait a year to see just how well it turned out, but I'll show you after I get this done. We'll see how it looks. Now, I've done a project down below. You see, here's what I started with. And this is what it looks like afterwards. And I used the varnish on the trim pieces, and I painted the bottom because you see that black line that's across there. At one time this boat had water sitting in it because it sat on the heart for 15 years. You can't get that out. So I was talking to a couple of guys, and they said, you know, most boats have way too much varnish anyway, and teak. So that veneer, just paint it a nice color, and it matches my floor, the holly in the floor, pretty well, I think. Anyway, that's the basics of varnishing, cleaning your tools, and we'll probably have a few other videos that get into a little more detail on how to brush and tip and some other things. Well, until next time, guys, happy and safe boating. See you later.